from New Street Station, but after 50 years on the road, rock legends and royalty that they are, Black Sabbath had their last ever tour. Fittingly though, it was here in their hometown of Birmingham, and we sent Nick Owen to meet the band.
It has to come to an end at some point.
Expecting something special.
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah.
It's going to be sad that it's the last show, but good in that we're all at the top of our game.
Bit sad, but I think it's time.
I can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest with you. It's just been an amazing journey.
To many people, they're not just godlike. They represent a voice that, until they arrived, just wasn't really heard.
Brilliant to be able to see them together one last time, and in their hometown as well.
Ozzy, Geezer, Bill and Tony. 4 lads who came together in 1968 to form Black Sabbath. 70 million record sales, and a Grammy later, they've decided to unplug and call it a day. But it all started in a corner of Aston in Birmingham.
So this is the street where Ozzy lived, and then if you go around the corner and just go a couple of streets beyond, you find where Bill and Geezer were, and just beyond that is Tony. 4 talents growing up just a few streets apart. Who would have thought they'd go on to set the world on fire?
This is rare footage of the band's first ever gig at the Crown Pub in central Birmingham in 1968. So how does a band that's done it all sign off? With a trip back home, of course.
Well, Birmingham's always in my heart. It's some place that I always come back to. I like going around the ballroom and places like that, and of course I love going down to the Villa.
Well, it's where we started. It's kind of like the old road has gone back to Birmingham.
It sounds like the obvious choice, but it nearly didn't work out that way.
When this tour was booked originally, it finished in South America. And it was me saying to my manager, we can't finish in South America. We've got to do England, we've got to do Birmingham. And we've particularly got to finish in Birmingham.
And that's something this Brummie-born Sabbath fan is delighted about.
I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm also got the butterflies, I've got the nervousness, anticipation of it all, and I just can't wait to be there and get in the arena and feel the electric atmosphere.
Self-confessed Sabbath anorak Chris Hopkins has seen the band play 70 times and travelled the world to feed his obsession. But I want to know what sparked his fascination.
Specifically when I found out they were from my hometown, Birmingham, I was just captivated then. I was like captured by the riff, and I never looked back.
But Birmingham isn't just the band's home city.
No, it goes deeper than that. Birmingham directly affected the whole sound of Black Sabbath, and it all happened quite literally by accident.
If you don't know too much about the history of Black Sabbath, then you should probably know something about Tony Iommi's finger.
Before they hit the big time, the band members all had day jobs. Thanks to Tony's, his music career was nearly all over before it really got going.
I was working in the factory doing this sheet metal welding. I was going to leave the job on the day, and I went home for lunch, and I said to my mum, I'm not going to go in this afternoon. You know, I'm finished now. You go back in, you go and finish off the day properly, don't you just leave it like that. Okay, so I went back to work, and you have to push the sheet metal in, and the guillotine comes but down. And so I'm putting my hand in it, bang, it came down, and it just took the hands straight off.
What, of 2 fingers?
Of the 2 fingers, yeah.
And the doctor said, forget it, you ain't going to play guitar again. He not only played guitar, he invented a new sound.
Couldn't bend the strings properly because of the ends of his fingers were cut off. And he used to have to make himself
little thimble things.
Thimble things, yeah. He used to make them out of fairy liquid bottles, melt fairy liquid bottles, put them over his fingers while it was still molten, and then put a bit of leather over the top. And I just do not know how he could play like that. I really don't. It's a miracle to me.
A miracle, perhaps, but it also took some ingenuity to take the pressure off his fragile fingertips. Tony slackened the strings of his guitar. But In doing so, he inadvertently invented a unique new sound.
You just got this kind of growl, this sort of heaviness. What Tony Iommi did with it, not just as a brilliant player, but also as someone playing in a very different way, was create something that nobody had really heard before.
And a new sound needed a new name. Although the band initially didn't like the term, one music journalist came up with the phrase heavy metal. It stuck, and a new musical movement was born.
So the name heavy metal didn't even exist before Black Sabbath. They are heavy metal, and it's all totally embedded in Birmingham.
But does the city give them the dues they deserve? Although they've received stars on Birmingham's Walk of Fame, and Ozzy even has a tram named in his honour. Is it enough? Some people don't think so.
So Heavy Metal is a project that we started in 2007, basically because we realised that people from all over the world wanted to come and pay homage to Birmingham, being the home and the birthplace of Black Sabbath and bands like that, and yet there was nothing for them to come and see.
The fact that you step off the train in Liverpool and everywhere you look, you literally cannot throw a stone without hitting something related to the Beatles. I think it's absolutely fantastic because, of course, that is a city that has embraced its heritage. And the fact that you step off the train here and you see no signifier and that there's no obvious landmark for people to come and pay tribute is a travesty.
He's right. The stars aside, there is no monument to the band, but if there were, perhaps it should be here, on Summer Lane. It was here, on this road in Aston, that Tony lost his fingertips working in a factory. Surely that's worthy of a blue plaque at least. But landmark or not, with just one more chance to see their idols, last week fans from all over the world flocked to Birmingham to see the final concert.
We came from Israel. We knew we had to take this chance for the last show.
We come from Germany, Berlin. Ozzy Black Sabbath is #1.
We're coming from France for Black Sabbath because we are big fans.
So the fans came from near and far to the Genting Arena, Birmingham. And when the time finally came, the band didn't disappoint. So what did our Sabbath fan Chris make of it all?
It was a great show. They were on top floor. Thought they all performed brilliantly. The crowd were well up for it. Got down the front in front of Tonu behind me. The crowd were going absolutely bonkers. Covered in sweat. I need to change my t-shirt.
It was a night of mixed emotion as Black Sabbath say goodbye forever. The tour was called The End, and I admit that does sound pretty final. Is it really all over?
I don't know about them, but I know I'm not doing it again. I think it's the end.
People are going to remember us by these shows. They're not going to see us again.
We don't want to do any more world tours, or at least I don't. But I wouldn't rule out doing a one-off show or something like that, you know.
So, there is hope for Sabbath fans. Perhaps, if it does happen, they'll be back in Birmingham someday.
Oh man, I really wish I got to meet the band. Anyway, before we go, don't forget, we're on the iPlayer.